Hey folks, I gotta talk about this video here. Good for this channel. Orania in Africa, in South Africa. You go way out there, way out in the boondocks of South Africa, there is this town, and between this town and the other populations of South Africa is all this land. And they show in here, like, you can see the land. And, you know, I'm wondering, like, when I look around and see the land, how much land are they allowed to take and call their own before Africa steps in and says, hey, you didn't buy this land from us. It's going to cost you more money if you want this land. It's like these people here they got land that belongs to them that's not even being populated yet. At least that's what they say. The land here belongs to South Africa. And these white people have come to this land and made it their own. Now, the man here, he says he's been here 400 years. They were in South Africa as refugees back in the day. Kind of like what black folks went through, but they're not saying that anybody took them as slaves. But they said way back then, 400 years ago, they were going through apartheid and they were abused and abandoned and all like that. And they basically were hiding back there into what now is called Orania. And it is a place in South Africa, way out there. You mention it to South Africans, okay, they don't want to hear about it. It's like, don't talk about that, man. It disgusts me, you know. And don't get me wrong, we're doing this kind of stuff, or we're trying to do this stuff here in America. You know, Spanish people come over here, they want their own neighborhoods. The only difference is they want to depend on the government and depend on the state to supply them with things. Whereas these people started off from living like, you know, refugees, living like Indians, way out in the, you know, they started out living like tribal white people, way out there, and they built everything. And white people, I hate to say it, brown-skinned people and black people, white people are known to do that. They built everything. They built their own electricity. They built their own manufacturing. They got their own, I think the only thing that they don't have there that they built themselves, that the guy didn't mention, is their own cars. They have their own homes and real estate. They have their own properties. They have their own middle class and their own rich. And I mean, and you know, my curiosity is, in Hawaii, which is part of America, you can go to Hawaii and there are places where you cannot stay. You can visit, you can come eat, but you cannot stay. Now, this guy here, they invited him to come eat. You know, but he couldn't stay. I don't think. I don't know. He didn't mention it in the video. If he was there all day, they might have let him stay because he's a journalist and they don't want, they don't want to treat him rude. I don't know. But, I just think it's sad. I mean, what they're doing is amazing. And again, that's one of the shout outs to white people. They did it again. And they're always good at doing this. They're doing that here in America. Even though America, to a lot of brown-skinned people, is already white. But there are neighborhoods and there are parts of states that segregation is power. And that's what these people believe. They even told him this, that segregation is power. They call it culture preservation. Culture preservation. Let me write that down because I'm known to forget stuff. Culture preservation is what they call this. So if I was to visit Africa and I picked a city in Africa where I wanted to visit and I wanted to get a hotel, well, I don't think this town that has its own real estate companies, I mean, you can grow a business. You can grow your own business in this town if you are Africana. That's what they call themselves. They say that they are Africana. They say they're not Africans, they're not Americans, or Africanas. Gets weird. With a K. Africana. And I heard this before. I thought Afrikaners were just like some group of black folks that were trying to separate themselves from the rest of Africa. Because there's Afrikaner people over here in the U.S. that say they're not Africans or Africana. Get it straight. Don't get it twisted. I'm like, what? But these are brown-skinned people. These are people that actually were born and raised in Africa. So I guess that actually means you live somewhere far away from any general population of Africa. That makes you Africana. I don't know. Educate me. I don't know. But the thing is, imagine me going anywhere in the world and booking my flight and saying that I just want to visit. Now, I believe you can talk these nice white people into a visit. But what would you do? They don't want you. They're not going to share their culture with you. You're not going to, you'll see pictures in here where, they walk around and they do all these things together. I don't know if they would let you do that. And they clearly said that, oh yeah, you can come and you can find out about us. We'll tell you whatever you want to know. And I mean, this guy, this white man, was preaching to this guy right here. He was preaching a sermon about how, cultural preservation makes sense. So you're preserving a culture by making people, by keeping people out. You're preserving a culture by keeping people out. If you need a place to live, well, you can't live among us. If you are sick, the best we can do for you is take you all the way back to the other parts of Africa and drop you off. Okay, if you're rich and you want to live in the good land, it ain't gonna be here. If you are married to a white man or a white woman, you ain't living out here. It doesn't matter what kind of music you like listening to. It doesn't matter what kind of God you serve. It doesn't matter how you dress. It doesn't matter what your cultural ideas are. You cannot be a part of us. Now, what's funny is today, Israelites are very, 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 and you're going to see more of this right here. But Israelites, speaking of the Bible, today they're very, very segregated, and they really don't pay attention to people that are, European, Middle Eastern, or African, or black, or American. Did I say that? They don't pay attention to any of these people coming to their country, trying to fit in, trying to, you go to the Holy Land, the people that walk you through the Holy Land, they're good people. But outside the Holy Land, people really don't like you if you are not olive skin tone, and you don't speak Yiddish, you speak American English too well. They don't like the people that live on their land. They don't like the people from Gaza. And I'm not trying to bring up war. I'm just saying I can understand why they don't like people of Gaza. But, they don't, you look at how they live and look how they allow the people of Gaza to live. They're not going to give much to the people of Gaza. Okay? But they allow the people of Gaza to live on their land, in my opinion. You would say, no, the people of Gaza got their own. No, that all belongs to Israel. Well, that's another video. But it all belongs to Israel. Even land that is owned by other people right now actually belongs to Israel. Even in the Middle East, there are land out there that belongs to the household of Jacob. And it was never given back to him, okay? Or back to his seed, so to speak. But, now, this don't get me wrong. These people here in Orania are hard-working white men who just make their jobs easier and easier and easier every day by building machines, and they worked hard to get where they are at. Now they don't have to work so hard. All they got to do is put 8 hours in of being out there in the hot sun. And the country, I don't know if they're calling this a town or a country. I think he called it a town, but he's saying it's actually like a country because they have their own everything. They do not depend on South Africans for anything. But they said they bought the land moons ago. Okay, they bought the land a long time ago. And, look at this. They have their own everything. They got their own electricity. They have their own water. They have their own agriculture. They have their own, they make their own, they have their own fruit and vegetables and meat and you name it. They make their own everything. They got their own stores. And now in this video here, they're saying that they're building a city. They have a town. They're going to turn that town into a city. Now, let me tell you something. I'm all for, if I go live with a group of people, and this is in the Bible, if I go live with a group of people, it is their culture. And so I should respect that it's their culture. If I want to put a little bit of my culture into their culture, it should be kind of private and hidden and stay within the confines of my home. I should not go out there and, white dude gets up in the morning, my neighbor, and I'm blasting rap music when nobody in my town listens to rap music. I'm a firm believer that I should respect the culture of that town. If I'm the only one listening to rap music, I'm probably not going to listen to rap music outside my house. Sorry, black folks, that's just the way I feel. I feel you should respect the actual culture of whatever town. Now, the problem with culture today is you go into NYC or you go into Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Chicago, Detroit. You go into any major city, Indianapolis, Seattle. You go into any major city. You don't know whose culture is whose. And you got these people over here trying to be white. and black boy across the street blasting his music and ain't nobody even into it. Like, people just walking by shaking their head like, dude, turn that crap down. You know what I mean? And I mean, if there ain't enough black people to enjoy it, why blast it? That's the way I feel. I want it, wherever I'm at, I want people to enjoy what I'm putting forth. If I'm going to get up and do a song, or I'm going to do a song and dance or whatever, I want the people there to enjoy it. I don't want the people there to tolerate it. I want them to be into it. I want them to invite me. Hey, Mr. Cruz, we're inviting you to come to our land. And now this guy got on a different shirt in this scene. So he might have been there. Either they did let him stay there on the property while he was doing this video, or he came back there like 2 or 3 times to do this video in its entirety. The title of this video is "No Black People Allowed in South Africa's Only White Town." And the guy's name of his channel, you can watch this video in its entirety. His name is Wad Maya. You can see here, right here, Wad Maya. And he's an African, a South African that talks about Africa every day, which I don't really look up to South Africa, because what these people are doing, South Africa should have done a long time ago. But see what happens when you create a environment that drains your own people. You drain yourself. And that's Africa. That's why I'm not into Africa. I got problems like that here in America. Would I want to go to some nation to where they got it worse? As much as I love the Philippines, and I ain't never even been there, I know before I go there. I could never live there and give up my American badge and just become a Filipino. I could never do it. Why? Because when you live in a country where people drain their own people, you drain yourself. And therefore you got, this is why politicians and rich people have to live away and far away from the areas to where they're feeding the people. Because when you drain your own people, Africa does not feed you and clothe you and give you a place to live without draining you. And we not only have that, like here in America, we have cities that are like this. But the difference between us and a country that you might call third world is that they have total land masses, cities running right into each other, and countrysides running right into each other that are like that. Just like in the Philippines, you can't get credit for anything. You can't get no help from the government for anything. Okay? You lose your job. Okay? There are people in the Philippines that will fund you out of their pocket. But as far as the government, as far as the state, no. That's why there's so many homeless and so many people living in poverty in the Philippines. They don't care about the people. They care about money. And when Americans go over to the Philippines, now they're creating all these when they go over there, they're creating all these new visas so that Americans can stay longer and spend more money in the Philippines. Why? Because Filipino money doesn't pay for anything but for the people that are selling, things within the Philippines. It doesn't build the Philippines. It doesn't make the Philippines a stronger nation. In the Philippines, are trying to have power against, Japan and whoever else, I guess Korea or anyone who would want to take over their property and make it their own or whatever. I don't know if they have a strong military. I don't think they do. But they do have freedom fighters in the Philippines who, in certain cities are waiting for somebody to come into the Philippines, armed in a helicopter or a plane or whatever. These are the people that will fight for the Philippines. The problem is these people are thugs. These people should be in jail because they'll fight for the Philippines, but they'll also kill their own people. And it's like that in Africa. You got military and police services out there that will kill their own people. Okay. But we know why Africa has never flourished to be like Orania. Orania is another one of them situations where if people put their minds together and they put their faith together and they start to have each other's back instead of robbing each other politically and financially and so forth like that, they can come together and build something. Okay? They can come together and build something that will end up like Orania. Okay? They can come build their own cities. Now, I said in a video on my Area of One channel a couple years ago, I made a video about a new black city. And I talked about how black people could really come together and stop the ghetto culture crap and really come together and build their own cities. And the people that were the first to survive slavery, they did. They had their own towns and cities and real estate and stuff like that, and their grandchildren came in and messed it all up. But the people back in Martin Luther King's day, they were all, now that's their flag right there, that's on that wall, a boy pulling up his sleeve for hard work. So what are you saying? Africans don't work? I beg to differ. I do believe a lot of South Africans work harder than you people do, because they working to survive. They working to eat. Okay? Where y'all working to build a city, these people are working to eat. They need to work to eat. Okay? You working to build a city. You already got enough money to eat. You working to build something bigger than what you already got. You working to build something bigger than survival. But again, you've been there 400 years, if that's true. You've been there 400 years or more, and so now you're building a city. You're building, you're building a culture. And I understand all that. I understand that because people don't understand what culture is. You can't, you just can't. And I'm wondering, I think cell phone tires and that, you have to have worldwide license for that. So I don't know if these people have cell phones out there. Now, I know at the end of this video, my man here had a cell phone in his hand, but look, all that land out there, you don't see any tires out there. Now, there's one way over there. Way back there. I don't think that's a cell phone tire. I think that's an electrical pole. But, wow, but these people got high schools, middle schools, elementary schools, and colleges in this town. They got it all. They said they got 2 high schools, I think they said they got 2 high schools, so they have 2 districts in this town. They got 2 high schools, and I guess that would have to mean 2 middle schools too. And then they have 1 college out there. They have 1 college. And there's that flag. And these are people, those statues over there where they're talking at, and I think this is near the end of the video. Yeah, it is. So I'm not going to be going too long. But those statues over there where they're at right there, those are the white men that have been in Africa and have died in Africa and died in other countries, who were speaking for and against for Africa. And they're sitting here. Let me see if maybe I should play a little bit of this.
They are in the past. They're part of our history, but they're in the past.
With all the monument that I see, would you agree with me if I say that this man performed a lot of atrocities in the past?
Well, I think obviously these are controversial figures, and I think the fact that we put them here in Orania with our own funding, some people are uncomfortable in the rest of South Africa to care for them, to see them in public, and I think that's why Orania is also a solution to a lot of the international conversation about monuments, because this is on private land, private funds, and it's our history.
But I know it's your history, but at the end of the day, a lot of people were harmed in the process. You don't think if you're embracing this, you're definitely embracing apartheid?
Afrikaners.
Is it okay to celebrate Shaka Zulu leader? Do you know who that is?
I know who Shaka Zulu is.
He killed a lot of people. Is it fine to celebrate him?
That's a question for South Africans.
It is a question. This is a question for Oranians.
He was more like the architect for apartheid. Do you agree with that?
I agree with the fact that he implemented a lot of policies in the apartheid era. I think
So, this reminds me of like the Amish people all over America here. Like, I think up here near where I'm at, like here in Pennsylvania, and there's other states. Here in Lancaster, here in the state of Pennsylvania, even out in there's places where people don't talk about it. I'm getting ready to move to Altoona pretty soon. They have Amish people in Altoona too, in the back. You know, they have Amish neighborhoods in Altoona too. State College in Altoona have Amish neighborhoods, and these places are very segregated. You can visit the Amish neighborhood, and you can buy from them. Now, these people here, I think they only sell to their own people. Okay? No, that's not true. No, they're doing just like the Amish people do. And the Amish people are doing this here in America. The thing about the Amish neighborhoods, though, you can drive, well, I think that's the way it is here, too. You can drive the highways, and I mean, you can ride any road. Like here in the state of Pennsylvania, I don't know about other states, but here in the state of Pennsylvania, every road, even on Amish property, every road that is built for driving cars on it, you can ride on, you can drive those roads. And a lot of people like to go in the Amish neighborhood and scare the freaking bejesus out of people, just to see what the reaction is, because they know they can't stay. But they can go through Amish neighborhoods, they just can't stay. And Amish people, like these people, do sell to the public, but you cannot go to their areas and buy off of them. You can go to Amish neighborhoods, and they have stores, and they have homes in Amish neighborhoods that are connected to stores, and you can go in there and buy food and furniture and whatever you wanted and take it back to Altoona or take it back to Lancaster or whatever. But you can't, here, I don't think you can go into their town. It's so segregated, you can't go there and buy anything. They come to you, they have people, or they have trucks that come and they load the trucks up, and the trucks go into the other parts of Africa, whoever wants to buy, and the money is, I don't know, wired to them or whatever, but you cannot go in there. Like their stores or whatever are only for their people. You cannot go in there and shop at their stores or anything like that. You can't go buy fruit from these people unless they take the fruit to you or have a truck come and get the fruit and take it to you. You cannot, they're really, really segregated. Whereas Amish people, for example, they allow you to come right up to their house, right on their property, and walk through their stores and walk around uninterrupted and buy furniture, buy food, buy clothing, whatever it is that they're selling. Usually it's labor industry stuff like wood and aluminum and, like Home Depot kind of stuff they sell. But, you come in, you shop, and you wave goodbye and that's it. Okay? But here, this is really segregated. The minute they see brown, okay, they're like, may I help you? I'm here to shop. No, you're not. You must be talking about such and such a town about like an hour drive down the street. You ain't, or you must be talking about 8 hours going this way. Like, you ain't buying nothing from here, brother. That's the way they are. And, to me, I hope that when South Africa decides that this is wrong, I hope that because don't go there and tear down everything. Do you have the education and resources to take over this town? I don't think any Africans do. So don't go in there and just, you tell them that, this is the law, new president, new prime minister, whatever. This is the law now. The people have protested. We want you to share, Orania with the population of Africans that are, hear me, that are qualified to live in Orania. Because everybody's not qualified to live in Orania. And I think the kind of people that live in Orania should be people that are educators. They should be people that can teach, not just white people, but Africans as well, that can teach, that can preach, that can be doctors. And by the way, they got their own hospital in this neighborhood. They got their own hospital. And I think he said that people can actually, they're 911 people, well, we're 911 here, it's something else out there, but their emergency people out there are not just Africana, as they put it, but they're African. So you can rush people to their hospital and they'll take care of them. But then, they have to stay for a short time, I guess. And then you got to ship them to another hospital. Because, and then they're allowed to be shipped to, and he said it, like if there's some real serious issues, they're allowed to ship their people by ambulance, to a African hospital in the more populated parts of South Africa, to a bigger hospital if they need be, because they are, South Africans. So when it comes to stuff like you know, being taken care of in the hospital, you know. But I think, like, as far as medical insurance, they have their own medical insurance in this town. They have everything, and they're trying so much to make themselves completely independent of the rest of South Africa, to the point where that area right there is not considered part of South Africa. That's what they're trying to do. They are trying to, in the near future, I'm sure their plan is to say, oh, this is not South Africa. You go around this neighborhood or around this town and back into South Africa. Okay, you don't, you know, they want to make that town like Canada. And I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to make that town like Canada, where you have to have a passport to get in there, even though it's part of South Africa. I know what they're doing. In the near future, that's what it's going to be like. It's going to be a gated town. It's going to be basically a gated small country, where you have to, you know, and especially if they start trading and buying and selling more openly with other parts of Africa, which in the near future they're going to need to, if they want to move forward. They're definitely going to gate their area. So, you know, but again, you know, I can understand going into a town and you having strict cultural rules about that town, but to say that it's cultural preservation to keep certain people out of that town based on their ethnicity, to me, that's cringy. That's illegal. That's wrong. That deserves, you know, deportation and jail time. Like, you know, I think if Africa really wants to, they could squash that and say, hey, we will either share with us. You can have your town, but Africans should be able to at least come down here and take vacations. They should at least be able to come down here and enjoy good food. They should be able to at least get away from the slums of Africa and want to do something, you know, because I know here in America, okay, I get tired of Pittsburgh and I go drive 2 hours away. I go drive 4 to 6 hours away. And when I go there, the only thing white people can do is look at me like I done lost my mind. Yeah, I wanted to go somewhere where, you know, there's more white people and less black people. Because I need a break from black people this weekend. So I go up there and white people look at me like, oh my God. Oh, there's another one. You know, dude, don't worry. Because if I didn't feel like you, I wouldn't be here. If I didn't want to get away from the nonsense of the big city, I would not be here. I'm here to kick it with you this weekend. You know what I'm saying? Calm down. You know, they look at you like, oh my God, why is he here? What's he up to? How many of them have come? How many are there? You know. But this here is worse than any segregation I've seen here in the United States. All my life. This is bad. I can understand it, and I can understand his speech, but this is bad. It really is. It's bad.
Apartheid legacy comes from the South Africa that the British created in 1910. The legal framework that they created at that stage, and the realities that follow after that. A lot of the South African black people fought on the British side and did not get recognition or the ability to vote after that. Yet.
And I want to say this again, I put in the comment section. How many people, I want you to put in my comment section, I want you to put in here whether you think Africans and black people are the same people. I don't think they're the same people. I think that's what happened, how we were brought over here from Africa as slaves anyway. I think blacks are, I think the Hebrew Israelites, which is a cult, that I totally disagree with about most, but I agree with them on one part. I think they're close to right, not fully right, but they're close to right. I don't believe black people are Jews, but I believe they are more closer to the Jews, especially Ethiopians. I believe they are more closer to the Jews than they are to Africa. And I believe that's why we were put through slavery. I don't believe that the majority of black Americans are African. I believe that only a small portion of that might be actually from Africa. If we were actually African, there would have been no need for us to go through slavery. But we were passing through their land, just like the Hebrews was passing through Africa, okay, in whatever century that is in the second book of the Bible, which is called Exodus. They were passing through Egypt, and what happened? They got taken as slaves. Once Joseph was dead, there was no more Israelite king. They went back to having an Egyptian king, and what happened? They were taken as slaves. They were made to be slaves. And what did they do when they tried to escape? Which they did escape. They tried to kill them. And they were killing them. They were even trying to control how many males were born into the Hebrew race. But before I close out this video, I'm going to let them talk and then I'm going to close. In the Bible, this is why everybody should read the Bible. And as much as I'm like, if you're not a Christian, why do you read the Bible? I've done a series of videos on that. But I believe that on a historical level, if you believe that the Bible has anything to do with history. Now, if you don't believe that the Bible has anything to do with secular history, then stay out of it. Because the spiritual stuff is just going to freak you out. Just stay out of there until you decide to get saved, and then you can worry about reading the Bible. But as far as secular history, there's plenty of secular history in the Bible that tells you who everybody is. And in the Bible, before today, what we call Judaism and what we call the people of the, country of Israel, the indigenous people of Israel. Back in the day when they were first called Jews, they had sojourners with them. Sojourners in everything. They had sojourners that were born to them. They had sojourners that went to them for protection and help. They had sojourners that went through slavery with them. And they had sojourners that left Egypt and fled. Okay? And survived as well as punished by God in the wilderness for their sins. Point is, the word is sojourner, a word that everybody hates in the MEV Bible. They hate that word sojourner. What a sojourner is a person that is a stranger that dwells with you. And he or she is part of your culture, and your God is their God. Let me say that again. A sojourner. This is why it was left in the MEV Bible. A sojourner is a person that is a stranger among you from another place that doesn't have his own culture, or his culture is poor compared to yours. He is with you for survival and protection. He is hiding among you or whatever. But he's a stranger among you that dwells with you. And his God and his culture is yours. So the problem we have with white people in Africa, and the problem that we have with brown-skinned people in Europe and America, is people don't respect other people's culture. Therefore, there's no peace. Okay? The problem that Americans have, the reason why Americans that are having problems here in America are usually of another race, even more than black people. You have all these Spanish people who, when Donald Trump got in office, their true colors came out, and you found out who they really were. You found out that Donald Trump was right. They didn't have nothing good to say about us when they found out that, oh yeah, you will be legal or you won't be here at all. They said, oh, okay, well, let me tell you something, okay? They have been trying for years to take over California. I got Spanish friends that tell me this. They try to take over parts of Maryland, parts of Hawaii, parts of, they got Spanish gangs and stuff in Hawaii, and they're practicing segregation in Hawaii and stuff like that. They got California, Texas, Arizona, Spanish colonies trying to segregate, just what these white people here are doing. And America has in some places, has let them do that. Now them places are like a ghost town right now because they let all them illegals in there. And Trump had to wash them out of there. He had to flush them out of there. Okay? So, what I'm saying is, this is why I love the Bible. This is why I love being a Christian. Because it would never, I can understand where you don't need this. You don't need to, as a human being, I understand Acts 17:26. Look it up. Acts 17:26. We all come from one man. His name is Adam. I know y'all don't believe in biblical history, but it's the truth. We come from one man. His name is Adam. One woman. Her name is Eve. Sorry, evolutionists, but this is over your head. We come from one man and woman, and they wasn't Lucy and the Neathon man or whatever. It was, the woman's name was Adam. She was a superhuman. The woman's name was Eve. She was a superhuman, and her husband Adam. That's where we come from. Bible says in Acts 17:26, we all come from, King James Version, one blood. New King James, MEV, we come from one blood. Modern versions, we come from one man, okay? We come from one blood and one man. One blood and one man we all come from. When you cut a white man open, his blood is just as red as mine. Okay? A white man can give a black man a blood transfusion. He can give him a liver, a kidney, even a heart transplant. An ape cannot do that. Sorry, evolutionists. They cannot do that. And a black man, an African man, an Indian man, a Spanish person, okay? Anybody of any race can give somebody of a totally different race a kidney transplant, blood transfusion, liver, okay, heart transplant, hormone surgery, you name it. You name it. And there's all kinds of other things that, as time goes on, we're learning that we can take from those that have passed on. We can take and we can survive one race by the blood of another. We can bring sick people to healing by the proper bloodstream and the survived blood cells and out of another. And that person's going to be totally different in race and ethnicity than you are. Okay? But I'm going to let them finish and I'm going to close out. But just remember that word, soul joiner. A soul joiner is a person, and we don't do that today, but a soul joiner is a person that is a stranger in your midst, that has somehow broken off from his own culture for whatever reason, and he's now him and his wife and his children or whatever are blended in with your people, and their God is your God, their culture is your culture, and vice versa. Actually, your God is their God, and your culture is their culture. Okay? They take on your God, your culture. It's in the book of Ruth. It's in the book of Exodus. It's in the book of Ruth. It's in the book of Exodus. Read it. That's called a sojourner. And what these people here are saying, we don't want sojourners in our land. And they're going to stand before God, each one of them that support that garbage. They're going to stand before God, and God is going to punish them on the other side for that kind of racist behavior.
Yes, he continued with some policies, he created new ones, but the reality of South Africa in that context was already set there in 1910.
You don't think it's because of this that's why people have problems, you know, because of history like this, because so many South Africans are not happy with this history, even though it's part of that. But I believe, like you just said, let the past be past. I mean, we can never forget our history, but I mean, I feel like this being here, it's more like a, what do you call it? Like a sword in the eyes of the people of South Africa.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
We have had from the ANC Youth League, we have had influential South African politicians. We have had 2 state presidents of South Africa. Nelson Mandela landed with his helicopter just there. We have had traditional black communities, Xhosas, Zulus. We have had the people of the Barulong tribe. All of them have been there. I have seen in their eyes no offense. They have expressed no offense. They have embraced Orania as a model that they can learn from, and they understand that we have the right to put our history in a context for our people here, for a way that we can explain it to our children and our grandchildren.
My experience is 2 things I take from Orania. Number 1 is that they're doing it for themselves, and that's the culture that we as black people need to learn fast and hard. They've got white domestic workers, they build their place. You look at Orania and tear us down. What is wrong with Orania for me is the racism thing. What is right is the fact that those people are building a city right in front of our eyes.
The 10-year plan for Orania is to turn this that you see here, to take this from town to city. And true to our culture, we don't want a big city full of skyscrapers. We're going to build no higher than 3 stories. And we will integrate our agriculture with our city. What we want is a city that feels like farm, because we are farm people. We are people who live in the open, like camping and hunting and outdoor activities. So we want a city that feels like a farm, and we're going to build a rural city. That's our dream. Our businesses, our schools, our Afrikaans university between these agricultural lands here around us.
People out there believe that Orania is a racist model. Do you believe that whatever you guys are practicing here is racism?
I do not believe that we are practicing racism. To tell you the truth, I've said it many times that if the question is, are there racists in Orania, I can assure you they are. There are racists in every town in South Africa, and every country in the world will fight racists. That is a fact. The Orania model is a model of cultural preservation. And that
cultural preservation, remember that.
Agree with me? But my personal belief, my honest belief, is that the Orania model is not racist at all. It is, however, a model to preserve something that we hold dear and to create a future where we can live our values, our religion, our language, and share our culture.
Who are the people that are not allowed in here?
Well, Afrikaners live here. Afrikaners live here. Afrikaners, we embrace the idea of own labor. We embrace our freedom ideals. This is who live here.
If you check when South Africa gained independence, if you check the coat of arms of South Africa, it said there is unity in diversity. Orania is within South Africa, but at the end of the day, I believe what you are practicing in here is not unity in diversity.
I beg to differ.
Can you explain that?
How can there be any diversity in South Africa if cultures are not allowed to be themselves? How can there be any...
Let me say real quick. That's what I was waiting for him to say that. You don't need to be self. You don't get to be yourself. I'm saying that to black folks and white folks. You don't get to be yourself. What is that you're standing on? What soil is that? Is it China? Is it Japan? Is it Europe? Is it the UK? What is it? What is that? What is that? Whatever ground you're standing on, that's what you get to be. This is why I don't leave America and just go to any state just to go, or any place outside the country just to visit or go, because I know who I am and I know what I've become, and I can't keep becoming somebody else. So I've become white America. I've become the West, as they would tell me outside the U.S. You're Western. You got Western ideas. Yeah. The people that have fed me and clothed me and sent me to school and gave me an education and gave me a place to live and gave me a job. Yeah. Let me get married in this state and get married, and, you know, presented me with a faith and have children and all that. Yeah, I act like them people. You can say I act white. You can say I'm too defending of white America, whatever. Why am I here if I don't support white America? This guy is living in South Africa, and he does not support South Africa. That's not fair. He's taken the resources that he should be helping them as a white man, because there are other white people that are living in the cities, in the metropolitan, you know, the more cultural settings of South Africa and Northern Africa, and they're helping the Africans build their cities and their structures so that they can be more like Americans or be more like Europeans. Okay? Now, there was a place in the video where this brother, he asked this man, he actually said that scene where he was in the car driving to Orania, he was saying there how Africa is dependent on China. China is invested a lot in Africa because China is taking things out of Africa. But again, you know, it's like, again, black folks and Africans, that's why they think they got so much in common. They both do have that in common, where, you know, you have to build yourself so that if you go to one culture and that culture doesn't give you what you need, that culture doesn't respect you, or that culture, okay, you're not confined or bound to the land that you were born and raised in. You can go overseas. You can go across the bridge. You can go across state lines. You can get a passport and fly some places and live somewhere else. And there are plenty of black people that are happily surviving in Russia with all this mess going on. Korea with all this mess going on. The Philippines with all this mess going on. Japan, Vietnam, for God's sake, with all this mess going on. With all this mess going on, they are happily bragging about living in Russia, happily bragging about living in Germany, and all like that. But the way they got it here is a lot of Africans, and I commend Africans who leave Africa and come over here to the U.S. That takes a certain kind of person. But don't come over here to the U.S. and act like you better than us. Or you might as well be this dude in Orania. Let's say you come over here and build your own civilization, being you're all that in a bag of chips. Don't come over here acting like you don't like us. This is how this guy ended up building what is now called Orania, what he calls cultural preservation. This is how he's building that, because he came over to Africa, and instead of leaving when he seen that Africa wasn't treating him good, he decided to. And see, that part I kind of understand. Like, and I think he said it here about how he would never live anywhere else except Africa. That's his home. And even though he's segregated like a lot of black people here in America, they think they have to stay here because they've been here for 400 years. It's funny how he was 400 years in Africa, and a lot of black people here that's over 400 years here in America, and they don't get it, but they're still slaves of it. This guy didn't get it. So what did they do? He got all these people together, or all these people got together. I'm pretty sure he's the great-great-grandson of whoever built that area, or one of the builders of that area, that structure. He's a great-great-grandson of one of them. And, you know, he has learned that if you're not happy, build. Now, in the Bible, Abraham, it's not that far-fetched as much as you can tell, because in the Bible, Abraham and Lot were the first to go and build their own land. You know, buy land, take land over, and make it their own. Okay? And people wanted to come and take that land back, or go and fight for that land, or whatever. You know, and then Jacob, he lived in different places, and he tried to have a land for him and his people, but Jacob wasn't a man of valor like Abraham. He was always afraid of war, okay? So, he would just suffer people coming around and taking what was his, but his sons, when his daughter got raped, because the people of that land thought they owned Jacob and his sons and his daughters. They thought they owned them. They could do what they want to do with them. They came over and said, hey, not only did I rape your daughter, I want your daughter as a wife, okay, and we'll give you this and give you that, knowing that Jacob was outnumbered. And Jacob cowered out, but his sons went back, and they killed everybody in their land, and I think that land became theirs later on. I'm not sure. Quote me if I'm wrong. But, around the time of King David was a man of valor. He broadened his territory. So did Joshua. They went out and they took over nations. And when we say nations, we're talking about nations right next door to each other. They took over nations and put their own people in there. Now, these guys here didn't take over no nations. They bought the property, and now they want to segregate. And I don't think the state, and see, that's up to, again, city, state, and government. City, state, and government. That's up to city, state, and government. Obviously, the government and the state of whatever, of Orania, okay, has decided to let them do this. Especially being they do have a trade to sell, okay, to other parts of Africa, but they don't buy from other parts of Africa. Okay? It's really, 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 really weird. And I think if they buy anything, it's outside the country, and they have it brought to them outside the country. It's just sad. It's just sad. Let him finish. I'm going to close out.
Diversity at all. If everyone is the same, there's no diversity. If you have a cultural community and you have the Xhosa people or the Barulong people, and they also embrace their identity, and from a standpoint of knowing who you are, of being proud of your culture, of embracing who you are, you get to a point of self-confidence where you then can put out your hand and say, without anyone forcing us, I can build a diplomatic relationship with this and this, and we can do it on our own terms, community to community. That's unity and diversity. To just write it on a coat of arms doesn't mean anything. To live it by creating your own identity. Identity is needed for diversity. Without identity, there is no diversity.
Based on the conversation we've had so far,
that's not creating your own identity. That's creating an identity that was passed on to you from your racist grandpa. That goes all the way back to slavery. That's not creating your own identity. That's creating an identity that you felt that out of, because of the recent apartheids and because of the, but see, the African guerrillas, I call them, they can come over here to Orania with guns anytime they want to and just start killing everybody and doing what they did earlier, start raping all the white women and killing all the men and take their land back and leave it desolate. It was done in the Bible. People just go and kill you and take your land, and then the land is there desolate. There's nothing there. You own it, but it's desolate because you killed all the people that was doing the agriculture in the land. Because you felt that land belongs to you, it don't belong to them. And I hate to see that happen to these people. But these people are actually asking for it. And I gotta admit, if I was part of the government of Orania, or, part of the, owners, the politics, the prime minister, whatever, I'd have to say, look, this is what we're gonna do. I'm going to see how Orania fits into the rest of Africa. You need to show me how you fit. And I'm going to give you time to show me what you got for us as a whole, as the whole South Africa. What do you have for us, or you ain't going to be there? Because I'm going to escort you off property. It's my property. We're going to take it back. Okay? And they could make you leave everything that you invested money in. They could make you leave it there, and they could call it the spoil like they did in the Bible. It's called the spoil. Okay? What they're doing is, and I understand, African people sometimes just screw things up. They just ruin a good culture, and black people are the same. Just ruin things. But again, blacks are not Africans. Remember that. I really don't believe that blacks are Africans. I could be wrong. I need to do a DNA test one of these days, but I really don't believe blacks and Africans are the same people. That's how slavery started. That's just my personal belief.
I feel like the Afrikaners actually have a problem with the English.
Well, we sure have our historical disagreements. I think there's a reason for that. The reason for that is the English took us to the brink of extinction. They took us to the brink of extinction. They almost, in the peace negotiations after the Second War with the English, one of the generals said, if we continue this war, we will be genocided off the face of the earth. We cannot continue this war. At that stage, 30,000 women and children were killed in concentration camps. So they took us to the brink of total stopping to exist. So obviously Afrikaners had a historic feeling of being threatened by that. I think that we are past that and so on, but still we have that colonial force of the national government in South Africa trying to make all the schools English, for example. It's not something we agree with.
If you have that problem with English, I guess black South Africans also need to have a problem with you. Because at the end of the day, they were enslaved. They went through, with apartheid that happened. For me being here, I feel like seeing what I'm seeing, with what you're saying, I feel like Orania is glorifying apartheid.
then I don't think you understand Orania.
I perfectly understand. I understand whatever you're saying. You don't think?
In the Great Trek, in the wars, many of our people were killed by leaders like Degan and Shark, and and there's the issues with the previous regime as well. So our question now is, are we going to hold this as a tit for tat game forever? Orania's way of thinking about that is a very niche model. I don't think it's a mainstream idea thinking about it, but we have our own way of thinking. We view freedom as not being oppressed by anyone and not oppressing anyone. And I think that's not the reality in South Africa anymore. I think, you spoke about apartheid now, so the systems put in place, what is the difference between having a pass under the apartheid regime to go into a certain place to go work, and and now swiping an ID card to get into a luxury estate to do people's work? What's the difference? We're still living in the township. What is the practical difference?
So are you saying that apartheid still exists in South Africa today?
I think the economic equalities based on race in South Africa still exist. And I think the only place where that doesn't exist, because the people do their own work, is here. And I think there is no going forward unless Afrikaners embrace that model. Listen, what you're not going to get in Orania is people falling on their knees, continuously saying sorry for their history. A lot of people apologized on our behalf for everything, and there's a lot of internal Afrikaner friction about that. But in Orania, you will find solutions. Maybe it's not the nice cherry on top stuff, people feel warm in their hearts, Orania is so nice to us, but you will find long-term solutions in terms of labor policies, in terms of community-to-community relationships, and in terms of the way we think.
Listen, I might not agree with the ideologies of the people living in Orania in certain aspect, but I believe that what they've done in here is super impressive, and I feel like other communities within the continent of Africa.
He's right. It is super impressive what they've done, and if you'll notice, in most places except Dubai, I think, and certain other places in the Stanley parts of the world, the Eustanian parts of the world, many cultures other than white, except for white or European, have not built, positive cities and cultures, and we're all wrong. Not just black folks, but every brown skin race out there. We have not done it. Africa has not done it. Most cultures in the Middle East have not done it. The Asians, they come in second place after white people as far as building cities and cultures. And their cultures are surviving off of people's third world issues. Like there's parts of China that are sweatshops for the parts of China where you as a tourist will get off the plane and, oh my God, he built this wonderful city. Go down the steps and see the sweatshop under the bar, dude. The sweatshop under the restaurant. The sweatshop under the embassy place or whatever. Go down and look. They're doing this crazy. They're enslaving their own people. Same thing in the Middle East. I just recently watched a documentary about Dubai. Dubai is beautiful and luxurious off of the backs of slaves. And they don't mind inviting you to come and be a slave and work for them. But at the end of the day, it's all about their race and their culture. They did this. And you can come and you can stay for a while, but you can't live there. You can't stay forever. If you live there, then you got to move into the and they did that in the documentaries where they talked about how people came there, thought they were going to live right on the coast of Dubai and find, no, they ended up living horribly. And they ended up leaving, or they ended up being stuck there, and they want to leave, but they don't have the funds to leave. They can't leave right now. it's a sad thing what they do. But, what I believe in closing is that this is only going to last for so long. Just give it like that guy there. I believe when his generation comes to a close, I believe as other generations start to build there, they are going to have to. You can't survive like that forever. There's a day of reckoning for that. One of these days, it's going to start off with you. You're going to have to let people blend in, or you're going to have to blend in, and things will happen where you're going to survive off because you got to have tenants to do real estate. Okay? And you're going to survive off of other people, and then who knows? I don't know if Africa's ready to share Orania with all these white people, or vice versa. But this little segregated dream that they have is not going to last forever. I believe they'll fulfill the dream for South Africans to come and eventually knock it down, not because they just been waiting forever to come here and knock it down, but as time goes on, they're going to need each other, and in the midst of needing each other, they are going to go to war against each other, and it's not going to be good for your kids and your daughters and your sons. It's not going to be good for Africa, period. I think that's a bad idea. I can understand, like I said, I can understand there's a culture, and you want to go and you want to control the culture of the people. There are towns here in Pennsylvania where I live where white folks control the culture. You do not want, as a black man, you do not want to get arrested in this town. You do not want to come to this town and act a fool. You do not want to, they let you know the way it is. You can't just come in their town and do what you want to do. And I don't see nothing wrong with that. I believe in cultural control. I don't know if cultural preservation is a good word at this point. I believe in cultural control. In other words, if I'm a black man and I've created this, I put all this together, me and my people, you're not going to come in here and turn this into white culture. You're not going to come in here and, you're going to appreciate the black culture that built all this. Okay? See what I'm saying? Like that. But to say that, people of certain color or race are not allowed in, you can come here and look how better we are than the rest of y'all, but you can't stay. You can't live here. I don't even think you can take a vacation in that place. It's just sad. It's just sad. So, that's that, But, America is falling apart, but yet at the same time, I'm glad I live in America, because America, compared to the BS of all these other nations, oh my Lord, you know what I'm saying? And you just don't know. You just don't know what's going to happen. Give it another century, America might be looking like Africa. And Africa might be looking like America looks right now. Who knows? Because if China take over Africa, and that's what they've been wanting to do for years. They really want to take over Africa. They want Africa to themselves. But I'm going to stop there. I'm gonna stop there and just wanted to put that on this channel because it's one of the things that this is not just a problem for South Africans. This is something that is going to get around, and other nations are doing it, and black folks are trying to get together and they're trying to do it. They want, they're trying to say to certain states, and they've done this, they're trying to say to certain states in America, or certain cities of certain states in America, no white people allowed, and all this kind of stuff, and and see, it doesn't matter whether you have your own everything or not. When you say that certain people of certain races are not allowed in, you just ruined everything that you, little or big, have put together. You just made it an empire of evil. It just, and I understand what the guy is talking about. But where do the people leave your neighborhood? Okay, let's say your kids are taught cultural preservation. They don't need to leave Orania to go anywhere and depend on anybody. They don't, these people are not going to leave Africa. If they do leave Africa, they're going to go visit probably Europe, okay, and try to look for, so I guess the people that come in there, when they come home, they have to come in there and they have to register, or something. They have to show a passport back in. I don't know how they control that, but it's just weird to me. It is really, really, really weird to me. Just imagine, your kids grow up and they graduate from college. They're being taught that they can only be around white people, and they have to come back to Orania after they get their education, after they've went on a vacation, after they have found a husband, and I assume after all this, your husband has to be white. He can't be black or Middle Eastern. He's got to be a white man, or you're excommunicated from Orania. It's just like the Amish people. They can only be with their own people. They cannot mix race. They can't leave the Amish community and be away for a while and come back, because then they don't know you anymore. They don't think you're Amish anymore, even though you're wearing the hat and the shoes and the coat and and all. You're not Amish anymore. You were going too long. I mean, this is like one of them infrastructures that puts people in like a prison. I would never want to live like that. I would never want to live to where I'm not allowed out of my black community. And that's another reason why as soon as I got out of high school, I couldn't wait to go traveling and let white people know, here I am, I'm here. Because I could not imagine being stuck in my black community and just listening to all these excuses why we must hate white people every day, and dealing with whatever ghetto nonsense, as well as brand new infrastructures in these black communities that don't make sense. I just couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. I had to get out of there. I had to get out. Don't want to live like that. And I know there's good people mixed in there with bad people and all like that, but you know what I mean? I figure the good people can all move out and let the bad people, go in there and keep shooting at each other, whatever. We're not hitting the crossfire. Our kids ain't getting hit in the crossfire. You know what I'm saying? But this is bad, though, because, you're taught only to be comfortable and relaxed and smile and enjoy your own people of a certain race. And let me tell you something. When you walk around with that attitude, there's a part of you that's dead. There's a part of you that is lost in outer darkness. I mean, it's real. How can you live like that? How can you live in this big world like that? This world is too big. It's one thing to stay within your state and never leave your state. It's another thing to live like that, to live in Orania, and it's not that big of a place, and you're just stuck there. God bless you. Thank you for watching. I'm going to end this. Thank you for watching.